wear two hats or to sit two chairs, you have different pictures. And if you speak in this or that capacity, you have different picture. If you speak from the stance of a big company, first of all, you have a higher level of responsibility owing to various reasons. The scope of business, reputation in Russia also has to do with political, social responsibility. And like it or not, but the company has to cement its processes, and even privately owned companies following a certain after it reaches a certain size, inside of it, certain bureaucratic barriers arise, and I really appreciate it in the first day in the corporate sections. A major American company representative said that we fully understand that a big company cannot change rapidly. It's rapid change is impossible in big companies. It's peculiar of any big companies. So attempts by the state to, and we understand that the state companies, over 60% of the economic sector are quasi-states. This went the trend, and the incentive to sort of encourage or to foster innovative priorities covers about 60% of Russian economy. And then you have a person responsible, and he looks around, and he has certain functional. He he is involved in the same benchmarking. He has people around him, and the center of competence also is set up, which in the corporate structure that has taken shape and the process model to effect various changes. But the problem of the story is the fact that innovations is a matter which is very difficult to plan from above, and the standards and the templates which have been approved in the corporations are in the logics of the R&D planning with budgetary participation. Now I'm looking from the point of view of the person who was approving that program and listening to the persons who were defending those programs, that a whole number of arguments were stated that unless there is funding from the budget, then extra budgetary would not be sufficient, and innovative targets would not be attained. Otherwise, a whole number of bureaucratic arguments and concessions had to be made why it had not been accomplished, and this medium was not guided by the premise why we had not done it. It is the way bureaucratic structures, ministers respond, but they are guided by the motive: we want to do it at any cost, at all cost. And in that sense, you have to understand that in order to expect an effect from innovative programs of major public companies, there is a long way. Leave no one stone unturned. That is, you have to pass. You really have to pass a long way, and it means that vertical structures in the management system have to become lateral, and they have to help creative flow to come from down below. And as regards private companies, the main ideas with new innovations in technology and the industrial companies, they come from the bottom level and from the floor, and a great number of engineers have to face the dilemma where they invest funds today and they assume high risk. That today they have a very well adjusted technological process, but if I believe this company, and I would not achieve the same results, safety or production will have to suffer. So probably I would rather not do it. And the incentive for this medium-sized management to do it, they have to be very serious incentives for them to encourage that. And so to change the structure and the processes, it's very important. That is to walk away from the rigid vertical structures to the lateral structures and different motivation of the innovation deployment processes. And I would have to say that if you want to have real effect from the introduction or deployment of innovations, you need to have a two-way road. You have to develop effective drivers inside corporations. That would be possible for the proposals that come from the bottom level to have a targeted fund and a system of appropriations that would that would come from the moment of inception of the idea up to the pilot project and its actual deployment. A very interesting example is when material that is logistic service and various companies is restructured in such a manner as you have special functions, functional managers whose task is to verify the adequacy of today's innovative technological level of development with the actual order that shapes or forms the operational segments. Today, as far as I understand, most of the companies, they have programs of innovative development. Meantime, they are still in the same shape. You still have to identify changes in the existing processes when the technological solutions which are prescribed to the various units ought to be verified by independent expertise, but by independent experts. But what we order, probably it's you can order equipment from another supplier. So, but it has to fall under a certain category to qualify a certain benchmark, and so the management of changes has to be there, so that the level of decision making also has to be changed. But there is another facet that is. If you look in this country, we say that we need to raise the level of innovative activity of the creative stratum. Meantime, it also depends very predicated on the situation in the market, and no matter what mechanism this state uses, no matter how many seed funds and the pre-seed funds it uses. So if there is no demand for the final introduction of the innovation, because we are talking about innovation that has been not just invented but deployed or introduced, we have to open the market of demand. You cannot actually. You cannot do it by compelling anyone. You can bring the horse to water, but you cannot force it to drink. So you can only do it by actual competition. It will be for the competence, but not for the administrative resources, in order not to abuse your attention. I think we have identified the challenges, and responding to the query whether or not this coercion is necessary, you have to compel the companies to innovate, to become innovative. Yes, it's a positive state, and I believe that it's only the first step on this long way that we have to cover. And one more aspect I want to note, we have to change not only the situation with demand and competition environment, but also we have to change it with the basic education, whatever comes from the bottom level. And for many years, in the past 10 years at least, we have been we lived in the medium with a very well predicted economic demand. We have favorable economic situation, and the management of many of the companies did not really think much about any creative management mechanism, because they were completely served the market demands. And the World Bank research that analyzed the effectiveness of various production enterprises, they discovered that in the same industrial segment we have the same production capabilities, which have the productivity level that differed by many times. So otherwise we have plenty of zones for the sales of products. In the coming 10 to 15 or 20 years, they will not be characterized by favorable economic situation. If you want to carry on
same way, then we shall have to take very different management decisions. We shall have to try and win our place under the sun. So this will necessitate other type of managers, and the discussion on the international level, which are being the discussions shows that the programs of masters of business administration, and of course business administration, so it needs to take and to develop towards the master of degree of master of creativity or innovation.